Okay, now let's go into answer some of the question of the quiz. So today we have again, so you see the first change. So this will be part 1 out of 4, and in the part 1 you have again the question. So if you saw the questions, the quiz was very easy for you. Here you will find the fusion of the 4 topics as we talked before. And this was the first question: who coined the term pangenesis? Okay, the term pangenesis was coined for different people. It was not by Galton. Actually, he was the person who tested pangenesis and showed that it was incorrect, that it was false. Darwin proposed this, but he proposed it based on he was not the person who coined this. It was 2,000 years ago it was proposed, and Lamarck was proposing some different theories not related to pangenesis. So if you remember the video lectures, you remember that 9 years after publishing The Origin of the Species, Darwin conceived his hypothesis for inheritance. And what he did is he took previous ideas from Hippocrates, and he said, okay, let's start from this hypothesis. So we start trying to understand what is how inheritance take place, and and he also this pangenesis synthesized previous ideas of pre-Darwinian thinkers like Buffon, Bonnet, Owen, Spencer. So he took everything that it was, everything that we know about inheritance, and he synthesized it into this idea of pangenesis. So again, the answer was not none of these guys. Maybe if you have seen Hippocrates here, that was the right answer, or Hippocrates plus many pre-Darwinian thinkers. But the best answer will be definitely Hippocrates and not any of these ones. So this question is very similar. So they're talking about who was the person who put forth the idea of pangenesis. So here the answer was Hippocrates. Very easy. Definitely not Pythagoras and Aristotle. As you will see, Mendel was proposing something different, and Lamarck was not proposing this. So let's see the answer. So it was Hippocrates, and as you saw in the lecture, here we talk about that. Okay, in this question, they said, okay, in this diagram, the flowers would converge into a single coloration. So if you see here, well, here you have white, yeah, you have red, yeah, and as you keep going, you start seeing that all of them end up being pink. So all of them converge into one color. This could be, maybe it's more like this. So white and red, then they start becoming pink, white, and red in this generation, and then they start becoming red and pink, and then only pink. So they're asking what type of inheritance is this, and very easy, you know that this is blended inheritance, and we know that this type of inheritance is a false theory. Now we know that it's not true. We will also talk about codominance. If this was codominance, one of these flowers later could have been white or red later, and we will study this later. So none of these options is correct. And this is an example of blended inheritance that we know that this is false. And so remember blended inheritance. And this is another example of blended inheritance that we talk in the video lecture. And here this could be a question of the test. So very easy. Here you find that all these circles represent particles of inheritance, and you have many here. And with blended inheritance, what we have, that all of them converge into the same color. However, when you have particulate inheritance, like the one proposed by Mendel, you are going to still have variation. And this is fundamental for life. Yeah, so this is why when you have purple flowers and white flowers, few generations later, the white flower, the recessive trait, can appear again. So here you see that um, you have to answer what is the name of this 1, 2, and 3, and so you see that although these two can be true, the best answer is A, because you know exactly, you know that this could be generation 1, this can be generation 2, but you don't know exactly when all these traits are going to converge into one. This could be three crosses, 3 generations. It could be 10. We don't know. So the best answer will be this ones that is more generations. So all this one can be true. It's not always true. Yeah. And this one, true breeding patterns. Yeah, this also have the same problem. So best answer definitely, if this appear in the test, it will be this one. Okay, in this question, you have again something very easy. They are asking you about these true breeding plants or pure breeding plants that Mendel used for this P generation, and they are asking you, okay, which is the best description for a pure breeding plant or a true breeding plant. And so they give you these 5 options. And here the best option will be that they are homozygous for the trait. So remember, when you have pure breeding or true breeding plants, what Mendel are plants that no matter how many generations you cross them, if you cross them again and again and again and again, you are always going to get the same phenotypes. In this case, a purple flower is always give you purple flowers. In this case, when you have white flowers, you're only going, if you keep crossing them, self-crossing them, you're only going to get white flowers. So these, in other words, these are homozygous. They could be, in this case, based on the experiments of the textbooks. So this will be a homozygous uh, recessive, and this will be a homozygous dominant. Yeah. However, when you cross them, if you cross one of these one with when you cross true breeding plants, something different is going to happen. You're going to get this hybridization. So you take these true breeding plants, so that it was what Mendel did, and instead of getting a white flower, you get this 100% of purple flowers in the F generation. And this proved that blending hypothesis must be false, because you are not getting an intermediate between these two types of flowers. So this question is also very easy. Here what we are giving you is a ratio, and you have to find the parents. So generally what we give you is we give you the parents, and you have to make a Punnett square, and you did hundreds of these exercises in high school. Yeah. And for example, you have here A and A plus and something like that, and you just have to fill here what it is, and with that one you get the ratios of phenotypes and genotypes. Here we are giving you the ratio, and you have to come to with the parentals to know what are these options. So it's very easy to do. The answer will be this one. And why is this one? Let's do it. So remember here they're giving you tell you that the phenotype, the ratio should be 1 and 1, but they are asking you for the genotype. So, and the best thing to do, one way to do it is just make the crosses. So for example, we know that this is the answer, and how we test it, because when we cross this and these guys, we get this. So A capital and A lowercase, you will get this one, and something similar, A capital and A lowercase, you get this one. So as you can see, you have 50% will look like this. Will have this phenotype, and 50% will have the other phenotype. So this is the option that is possible, and you can try other options. So for example, you can try this cross, the two heterozygous, and if you try the two heterozygous, so this will look like this. What you're going to get is something completely different. You will get three phenotypes that will look like the dominant, and one that look like the recessive one. So while this one will give you the right answer, 1 to 1 in phenotypes, this one, and if you see the other ones, they will give you other ratios. In this case, if this one will give you the ratio of 3 to 1, and you can continue doing the other ones, and you will see that definitely they are not going to give you the right answer. Okay, now this exercise, this question that is very easy. Pangenesis was experimentally disproved by, and so we know that Darwin was the one who proposed, who to he revived the idea of pangenesis. So definitely it was not Darwin. We know that Lamarck, he was not interested. He talked about something different. So it was not this one. However, Galton, the relative of Darwin, he was actually who used rabbits to test this hypothesis and to demonstrate that this is false. So if you remember the video lecture, I talked that Darwin had proposed the mechanism of the pangenesis, in which gemmules or pangenes, they were responsible, and uh, they were distributed in bodily fluids. And what he proposed is transfuse blood, so the gemmules of one rabbit with one coloration of fur to another rabbit. And what he was expecting is that as he transferred the gemmules in the future generation, he will get another rabbit with black fur. And when he did that, he found that he never found a progeny that has a black fur. What he found is no matter how many transfusions he did, he will get again the same type of fur, because as we know, the genes are in the nucleus, not in the blood. So no matter how he did this experiment, it was never going to work. One small thing, I talked that it took almost 2,000 years to devise a test to to make sure that the Hippocrates hypothesis was correct or wrong. And as I said before, why we have a genetic revolution right now is because people start testing the hypothesis, and we were able, with an experiment, show that something is true or false, or at least under these circumstances, this is not correct. Okay, so definitely answer was Galton, and he used remember rabbits to test that, and he used the uh, fur color. And Darwin and Lamarck, and they were not responsible for that, so the answer would be Galton. So, as we know, the person who coined the term eugenics was Galton. Darwin, although he talked about how humans can evolve through natural selection, he was not talking about the social implications, so definitely not Darwin or Lamarck. And eugenics appeared, of course, after Lamarck, so this is definitely not correct. So now we are going to start defining eugenics, and remember that eugenics is the practice or advocacy of improving the human species by selectively meeting people. And here the problem is, which people are we going to select? We have a specific desirable traits, and in some cases, I will show you videos of communities that have been inbreed a lot. So they start accumulating deleterious alleles, so they have genes that are bad. So what they do is checking for their genes and say, okay, we have to be careful which people should have kids, which people can adopt, have to adopt, so we don't have generations of sick people. However, in this case, as we talk in the class, the eugenics in the beginning, or at that time, it was clearly based on scientific racism. So there are two types of eugenics. One, that it was positive eugenics, that it was promoting the proliferation of the people that we want. So in this case, these biometrics show that this person was smarter and a good person, and we know that these measurements of the skull don't show anything like that. That was pseudoscience. And even the worst one, that it was the negative eugenics, that it was prohibiting the marriage and breeding between different um, different people. So, for example, I talk about the historicization of minorities in the United States and Canada, and definitely this that was a very sad period of Canada and the States and other countries. So remember, there is positive eugenics promoting that only some people have kids. So in this case, in the past, it was only white people. And negative eugenics, it was to prohibit that people of different races get married or have kids, or not allow that minorities have kids that they were not white in these countries. So okay, so I'm glad that this is over.